And good morning to all of you joining us bright and early. Thank you for getting up early with us, all 6 of you. Thank you. Jim Trotter has a vote. 48-person committee, you have a vote. Let's go through these 4. Ray Lewis, first ballot Hall of Famer.
No brainer.
No brainer.
No brainer.
That's the one that everybody says definitely in. Okay. Another middle linebacker, Brian Urlacher. Does it affect his chances that he's the same position first year?
Not at all. We don't vote on positions. We vote on who we feel are the 5 best modern era candidates.
Okay. Those 2 aside. This is where I think it's really interesting.
Absolutely.
With these 2 receivers, Randy Moss and Terrell Owens. Randy, year 1 of eligibility. Of course, everybody here says he absolutely should be getting in this year. And then there's T.O. in his 3rd year. Did you vote for T.O. the last couple of years?
And I'll vote for him again this year.
Okay. Why isn't he in?
It's a great question, Sage. Primarily what you hear in the room from people who are critics of him is that you have such a dominant player who has been traded in his prime. Therefore, the feeling is that he was not a good teammate. The thing that's fascinating to me about the discussion with T.O., when I first got on the committee 12 years ago, I was told we were only supposed to consider what happens on the field, impact on the field, and now that seems to be broadening to where the field is now the sideline. And now the field is the locker room. The field is the practice field facility, all these different things. And it makes no sense to me from this standpoint. There are a lot of players in the Hall of Fame. I shouldn't say a lot, but there are players in the Hall of Fame who are not necessarily considered good teammates. Recently, we put in Charles Haley. The 49ers traded him because he was so disruptive to Dallas.
Exactly.
Swayed the balance of power in that conference. So, to me, this is a red herring with T.O. He belongs in the Hall of Fame.
Have you talked to fellow voters, no names, who haven't voted him and discussed their reasons why?
Absolutely. And they believe that character, being a good teammate, all of those things are important.
The same people that voted in a Warren Sapp, a Charles Haley, Lawrence Taylor. I mean, there's so many people that you can argue with. I think that's why it's so difficult. It is subjective.
Absolutely.
But if Randy gets in.
Well, this is what's fascinating about Randy. If you're going to use the criteria, or if you're going to base Randy's candidacy on the criteria used for T.O., if you have a player like Randy who once said publicly, I play when I want to play, and you can go back and look at his career and see those moments where he did not want to play, and you had teams that got rid of him in part because they felt he was disruptive or he was not giving his all, how do you then put him in and not put T.O. in? And that's why I've always said I'm going to be fascinated by this discussion tomorrow on these 2 players, because if you keep T.O. out and you put Randy in my opinion, then you're a hypocrite. So I am fascinated by this discussion that's going to take place.
Is there a way to fix this and to make sure in your mind that it's done the right way, that it's based on what it should be based on?
No, look, voters are human.
Yes.
And just like with officials during games, humans make mistakes. And humans have opinions. And so when you get in that room, it's very personal. And some of the voting sometimes I do think is provincial in terms of who were you covering? Who were you around most? Who do you know? Who do you have a relationship with? All of those things come into play whether anyone wants to acknowledge it or not. But there's no way to take human error or human feelings out of the voting process.
What's your gut with those 2?
I don't know. I mean, I'm honest with you. I don't know. I've been in that room long enough to say that there are times I've gone in and said, these are the guys who I believe are going in, and they don't. But I'll say this to you, Sage. Here's a great exercise later. Put up the 15 names of the modern era finalists. Give your friends a piece of paper and say, pick out the 5 that you believe are going to go in. I'm willing to wager you that the 5 will not be the same on every piece of paper.
Probably, and again, subjective.
Absolutely.
Who were you a fan of? Who made your life difficult as a member of the media? Right or wrong, right? 48 committee members voting. A finalist must receive 80% of the votes to get that nod, to get that yes. A lot of nervous people here in Minneapolis as we wait to see what people like Jim Trotter voted on. Jim, thank you so much.